I apologise for not being as punctual as the program says, but welcome to you all on this very beautiful day. You know, when I was a boy and even as a young man, I was always interested in the American West and never dreamed that one day I would go to Santa Fe, the end of the Santa Fe Trail. And when I did go there, I found it a very beautiful place, Santa Fe. I think it's about 9,000 feet up and in the desert, very beautiful. And so that accounts for this little, I think it's Arapaho Indians who used to mine the silver mines there, and today they still make silver accessories, and that accounts for that. So I thought I'd put it on today, and also I have here something that Florence and Tim, who run our American part of the operation, they got me a genuine deputy sheriff, Santa Fe County, New Mexico. A real thing. And it's strange to sit at the end of where it says, end of the Santa Fe Trail, it says, that's the name of it, Santa Fe Trail, and it ends here. And it's quite a bit of history for a young boy and a young man who used to read all about this to suddenly be standing there. So that's just a part of my history and my worldly interest. Of course, I was a young man then, and that was when I was pretty stupid, when I used to do all those things. I was stupid until I was about 30, which is much better than you, you know. I was stupid. I had no inkling of the truth. I read one book, I think it was Ouspensky's In Search of the Miraculous. That's when this thing first started to move inside of me. And I read that. And Ouspensky was Gurdjieff's greatest disciple. And Ouspensky wrote down what Gurdjieff would say, and there came out of him just like this. And I remember inside of me, if only I could ever speak like that so that truth came out of me just like I'm reading here. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Well, the most miraculous thing is that it happened. Have you ever had anything like that where you've admired something and thought, wouldn't that be wonderful? And then it happens to you? Well, that's what happened to me, so I wouldn't give up. Right? So yes, I was quite ordinary, and I'm still very ordinary. But I have inside of me this a great knowledge and a great realization and great presence, which is not to put anything on you, to say that you don't have it, of this other world. Now, the other world is not a world where you see figures or visions and those sort of things. That's not what I'm talking about. The other world where I want us to begin and to go into is a world of stillness, perceived from here, and we are right at the edge of the universe, the sensory universe. You and I are all alone here. There's nothing else out here. You know, the trees aren't out here. I know you think that the trees are out here. I know everybody on earth thinks the trees are out here, but I'm telling you the trees are not out here. The trees are in the other world. And let me explain this to you. The trees have an instinctive connection with the inner world. They respond to the inner world, not to the outer world as we think. So the inner world is the reality of the trees. Sure, they appear to our brains out here, because our brains are the things that create the sensory external universe. But the things themselves, those flowers are not here. The form of the flowers are here, that's irrefutable. But the flowers themselves, the feeling of them, the being of the flowers, is connected with the instinctive world, the world that I am endeavouring to communicate to man and woman on this earth. Now, it's an instinctive world, which means it's not a mental world. You can't think about it. The animals don't think. The plants don't think. Nothing that's natural thinks. Only things that are unnatural, which is the human being, thinks. They don't think. They exist. They exist rightly. And everything that they need is added to them. Water is brought to them while they need it. When they don't get water, they die. But their reality is connected to the inner world. All the animals that you see, they're not connected to the outer world. You only think they are. That's your brain that divides everything and puts everything outside of you. Your dog does not react to the outer world. Your dog reacts first to the inner world. And the outer world just happens. And the appearance of that reaction happens out here. Now that's the truth that I'm endeavouring to convey to you, but you can see how difficult it is. The evidence against it is so appallingly great by our senses. But let's have a look at you. You're only unhappy. Now, would every one of you please listen to this? You're only unhappy wherever you are unhappy in your life. You think that you are attached to the outer world. That's where your unhappiness comes from. When if you look at it, if you are at peace within, you are free of unhappiness. If you can feel like now, the sensation of what I would call nothing or just of well-being or, well, everything's all right. If you're into the sensation, now where is sensation? You're going to say it's out here? Not a chance. That sensation is not out here. The blow is out here, the sensation is not out here, the sensation is within me. It is the divided mind that always puts everything outside, that says that sensation, it's definitely here. No, there's no here, only to the senses, because that hurts. If it hurts, that sensation of hurt is within. You are all connected to the instinctive, eternal, or immortal world. You are connected to the same world as the koala bear, the magpie, these plants. That is your connection. It is only your utter fixation on the external that stops you from realizing that. Now, if you are still now, are you going to tell me that's external? Even if you've got a broken heart, are you going to tell me that's external? Even if you're worried, are you going to tell me that's external? Everything of value is within. And the effect of everything is within. It's how things affect you within. That's what counts. And I trust that while we are together this weekend, and as I've started to speak to you now, I trust that you are making more contact with the world within, knowing that your mind, your thought process, can never, ever, ever understand it, can never, ever get near it, can never, ever describe it. Impossible. So if you want to put on leaden shoes and try and walk across the pond out there, that's about the same as trying to think your way to this quietude, this peace, this other world. Now, the way you reach this other world, this place, is by being precisely, or doing and being precisely what you are doing and being now. What is the good of living if you're going to die? For God's sake, what is the good of it? There is no good in living if you're going to die. None. Isn't it best to find a place which all the plants know, which all the animals know, but cannot know consciously, but know instinctively? But when I die, I return to the place, my source, which is more real than my form. And for us that is within, like now. Like now. For I'm not just talking to you. This is a journey. When you spend time with me, you are in a journey, a descent into this inner world. It does mean that you have to give up your thought process, your critical faculty, which is so prized and called free will. You have to give all that up and just be simple and be innocent, leaving your baggage behind. Just be. Now, you don't get any visions of the other world. What you get from here is a perception of nothing. A perception of no need, no bother, no worry, no problem. Of complete stillness. Of never-ending space, emptiness, stillness, silence. That's the intimation from here. And that's the truth. Now within that space, that silence, that infinite, wondrous nothing, within that is everything. That's where the plant's essence, which is behind its form, comes from and returns to when his cycle is finished. He just easily goes back into there or is just back in there. And all the animals do the same thing. They all die gracefully and beautifully. Although it is necessary for the human form to put up for any form to put up a fight to live, just like the plant will fight to live externally, which means inwardly. It will fight to live until it gives up finally. It just gives up. We are the only creatures on the earth who see things as you see them through your eyes. The animals do not see each other like you see animals. As I've said before, the animals, for instance, a dog, sees another dog precisely as you, the man, see another man, or you, the woman, see that woman. You see different faces, you say, yes, that's a woman, or that's a man. The dog sees the other dog just like that. We think that they see each other as dogs. This is how stupid we are. Oh no, they're no different to us. The perception is, that's like me, just like you see each other. We are the only ones that think about existence and therefore make ourselves unhappy. The other day a lady wrote to me after the weekend on the Gold Coast and said she was very angry with me by the sound of the tone of the letter, because it started off, woman must not think. And then she went on about that, getting the wrong end of the stick, because I thought I'd made it clear, but I'll try to make it clear again. Woman must not think. While she thinks, and you could test this, you will make yourself unhappy like the very woman who wrote the letter is unhappy because she thinks. There is no need for woman to think. Because woman is 100% love or consciousness in essence. Not where she is now, but in essence, so therefore that essence is there. Now, consciousness or love doesn't think, doesn't have to think. Why? Well, the plants don't have to think either. Isn't it amazing? And the koala bear and the animals don't think either. And all their needs are supplied somehow or other by you, by a bone in the rubbish bin, something. They don't have to think, because they are in touch with the vastness of the instinctive world within. Everything there is provided. And the only thing that will spoil it for you will be when you think. Now, a woman doesn't need to think, because love or woman, when you're in the state of love or consciousness, everything is provided. You are intelligent, so what would you want to think about? What would any woman want to think about? What would you want to think about? I would ask the lady herself if she was here. What do you want to think about? Can't you just see? Can't you just know from within? Through the sensation of what is pleasing to you? Don't you just have that immediately and you go towards that without thinking? Why do you have to think what you've got to do? Why don't you just go still and then do as you do? Having utter faith in your own consciousness. What do you want to think about? You'll only think about your pathetic life, your unhappiness. You'll only think about blaming someone else. You'll only think about criticizing somebody else. You'll only think about how you're a failure or someone else is a failure. That's all you'll think about. Or you'll always think about where you want to go on holidays. Why do you want to think about where you want to go on holiday? You must have the sensation, the idea inside of you. You must have it. Why do you want to think about it? If you want to get more information, you open up the encyclopedia or go to the travel agent. You don't have to think about it. And you look. Looking is not thinking. I mean, you're not thinking now. You're looking. You're looking externally at the speaker, but really, you're looking interiorly into the other world, inside your own being. You too, like the plant and the animal, are focused on that place. If you are still. And in that place, you are somehow fulfilled, like now. Not having to do anything, not having to be anything, not having to think about anything, just complete, like now. Simply sitting there, doing what you're doing, being what you're being. That's the inner world, which from here seems to be nothing against all our thoughts and the busyness of our minds and emotions and fears and doubts, all that stuff acting on the surface. My God, how can I ever get to the other world and be still like the plants are still? Don't we delight in the stillness of the rabbits and the birds and the trees? Isn't it, what do you think it is? It's their stillness, their innocence, their honesty to be what they are, not be what they want to be. They're doing what they do, not wanting to do it and not wanting to do it. They're doing it. And in the doing of what you not want to do or not want to do is pleasure, the joy of being alive. But when you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart. So I say, woman must not think. And then someone says to me, or many people have said to me, that's an insult. And then I say again, if you think, then you must drink at the place of the sinking heart, of the fearing place in you. Because all thought causes pain and discomfort, worry and fear. All thought. There's not one thought that you will have that would not cause you pain or unhappiness in its cycle. Not one thought. Why is it that you have an argument with your partner? Because you thought yesterday. That's why. You dared to think. You don't listen to what the Master says. You still want to entertain yourself with thinking. And then you wonder why your child goes on drugs, or your marriage falls apart, or your job doesn't work, and it works for a while. What happens then? You start to think about it. And you ruin your job. You ruin your business. And by the grace of God, you keep getting up because the instinctive world is greater than the thinking world. And so everything works out anyway. But what a bothersome path it is. The struggle. Because you're always trying. You're always thinking, always wanting, always competing, always comparing. All these things of the thinker. You never see an animal compare. And you're an animal, like I'm an animal. Oh, the arrogance of man and woman. Everybody should get up on the television for the news and announce, first of all, this is an animal speaking. I'm an animal and I'm going to tell you the news. Well, I don't know how an animal can tell you the news, but I'm going to, but I am an animal. Perhaps the news is not too good either, because I don't really know that I'm an animal. So I don't really know what I'm talking about either, and calling news. Now, would you please be patient? Would you please stop wanting and let the instinctive world bring your need to you? Because every time you think about your need and say what you need, you push the solution to your need away from you. Will you please stop making these waves that disturb the psyche, that disturb everybody, that disturb your children, disturb your home, disturb your job? You're responsible for all the disturbances in your life. Every single one of them is due to your thinking process. Well, is anybody ever going to hear me? Well, there's only you to hear me. Are you going to defend your thought process? What do you need to think about? If you're going for a new job, you don't think about it or you'll lie awake all night worrying. That's thought. Why don't you be intelligent and look at the situation? Look at the application form. Look at your own qualifications. Look at how you can embellish your qualifications if you like. Look. Stop thinking. You line up for a race. You look at the other competitors. You see there's 9 or 10 there. All you've got to do is reach the end of the 100 metres, whatever it is, as fast as you can. Don't concern yourself with competing. Don't think about how good he is and what the newspaper article you read about, what top form he or she is, because that's thinking. That's only somebody else's opinion. And that was printed yesterday anyway, and last night he had a diarrhea attack. So why? Why not just do your best? Do your best to get to the other end as fast as you can. No thinking, because thinking drains your resource, drains your energy. And then you can't connect with the other world. Because the other world, to be in the other world while you're in this very, very temporary world, to be in the other world requires enormous energy to be consciously there. And every time you think, you drain off some of your current. And then you start saying, but I can't do it, but I can't do it. But that's the thinker saying, I can't do it again. You're draining more energy off. This word can't is a dreadful word in the spiritual life. You will do it. You will do it. That's the end of it. Now, may I ask you a couple of questions, please? I don't want it to sound like school, but it might, because I wanted you to put up your hand. Is anyone with me for the first time, please? Put up your hand. Good. Good. 3 or 4 people. 4 people. Thank you. And is there anyone that hasn't read the article, the advertisement I put in the Australian that's been put up out there? I know you haven't had a lot of time. Anyone hasn't read it yet? Okay, well that's about a third of the people haven't read it. Good. Because I might refer to that after lunch then, when you've had a chance to read it, because it's entitled, as you know, the truth and the ignorance of science today. And it's a very big advertisement in the Australian. It was paid for by a benefactor and cost a lot of money, so that I could make one intelligent statement to begin with, a public announcement of the truth. And so that the number of people out there that could possibly understand it or want to understand it would be minimal, but that's not the point. The point is that I have made an impossible statement in public, not hiding behind some opinion, but this is my life and my truth, and my benefactor has put his or her money on the line and said, yes, this needs to be said. And the title is Truth and the Ignorance of Science Today. Right? Now, one of the points of that article is this. I'm speaking about the scientists. But really, when you read the scientists, the word scientists, you can read you, everyone, because everybody thinks like a scientist. Everybody is rational, thinking just like I've been describing. They think about how far the distant star is. They think about what the speed of light is. They think about how to make a new motor car. They think about how to get more money. They think about all the things that you think about. And the whole world is unhappy because everybody's thinking. If everybody stopped thinking, all unhappiness on earth would end. So it is the scientific mind, which is your mind, which is the rational mind, that is making your children, everyone else's children, your mother and father, everybody, your thinking is making them unhappy, and their thinking is making you unhappy. And that's the world that you think needs changing. This is the ridiculousness of scientific thought, that you can invent some drug, that you can invent something to change the world. You will never change the world, because you think you change the world, and you're thinking that you're changing the world, or thinking that you're doing something good for the world, is the very thing that causes the unhappiness on the earth, in the world. So in this article you're going to read that scientists are rational but not logical. Now, I don't know whether there's any scientist here, but I would trust that there was a new scientist or physicist or is here as a new person who could tell me that he or she is rational. Because they don't even know what rational and logical means. Science does not know what it is to be logical. The human race does not know what it is to be logical. Now, I'm putting my finger right on the ignorance of you, your mother and father, and the scientists that you know, the biologist, the doctor. I'm putting my finger right on every one of you. You are illogical. You're rational indeed, but you're not logical. And that's why the problems of the earth are there. Now, to be logical is to put first thing first, something that you've heard me say for years. But you've got to grasp it more. No scientist on earth ever puts first thing first. He always puts second thing first. Say you're a university student. Okay, so many of you have been to university. You're not logical. You weren't logical. You weren't logical because your parents didn't teach you to be logical. So you got rational and you opted for a university career or to go and study something. Say you wanted to be an advertising writer. You're illogical, you're rational, but you're not logical. You're not logical because your mother and father didn't teach you logic, what it is to be logic, and because their parents didn't teach them, and because they all think like scientists. Because you want to study second thing first. The first thing, as you will read in that article, to study is the observer himself or herself. Because it is said in the article that the observer affects the experiment. The observer affects the experiment. And even one scientist here, that I quote in the article, says this, and I'm going to apply this to you, so this is not a story outside your experience. This guy from the retired guy from Sydney University says, if the observer must be a part of the experimental result, so the result of any experiment, and your life's an experiment, let's talk about scientists only. If the observer must be a part of the experimental result, then it is essential to study the observer, says this scientist, because quantum theory shows the scientist that. But physicists refuse to investigate themselves as observers because that would scare them witless and change their belief system. That's another scientist speaking about them. And you're scared witless, just like the scientists, because, well, not now, you are studying the observer, but we're going to go deeper into that. You will not, or you did not study the observer first. And so your life is an experiment, just like the scientist gets into his laboratory. And he's going to have the big experiment to find out if this works or that works. And he's getting all excited outside himself, experimenting outside himself, when he's already been told by quantum mechanics, which is his God, wait, you must study the observer first, because the state of the observer changes the experiment. Wait. He says, no, not on your life. Not on your life. That's all right. That's sort of philosophic stuff. But I'm here. I'm going to work it out here. And his own Bible, quantum mechanics says, but wait, you're going to influence the result by the way you are, and therefore the result's not going to be true. And he ignores it. And that's what happened to you, and to my parents, and to me, who was stupid until I was age 30. Adult. No matter what success I had in newspapers or anything else that I did, I was adult, making everybody around me, including my kids, unhappy, making everybody unhappy and thinking now and again, because we had a few laughs, that everything was all right. That's just what your mother and father did and are doing, and their parents did to them. And nobody taught you, like nobody told me. When I was born, nobody said to me, now, I'm going to tell you the truth of the universe, which is what this is about. Fancy trying to tell people 50 and 60 years old, 40 and 30 years old, the truth of the universe, when you should be told from the moment you're born what the truth of the universe is. So I got to take an advertisement in the paper, pay for it, because I wouldn't trust any idiot journalist to write the truth, because the truth depends on having observed the observer. And if you write anything and you haven't observed the observer, what you write is going to cause consternation and confusion, because you have not studied the observer, and the observer influences the result. So your life is the experiment. And of course you have started to study the observer. But that's a pretty deep subject, isn't it? What is the observer? Okay, you could say it's a pair of eyes looking out. Yes, you could say that's the observer. How do I study that? Well, intelligence would say you can't study that any more than you can study what's looking out of your ears, the intelligence that's looking out of your body. It has no attributes. You can't study that. But you can use that intelligence to study what's behind it. Now, what is it that if you're this university student and you've selected a career to study whatever subject it is, and you haven't started to study yourself? So it doesn't matter how many degrees you get from these university professors, you'll only spread confusion and unhappiness in everything you do. You'll do your best to make a change of things, but you won't change things. Nothing more than anybody on earth has ever changed things in, let's say, 300 years. Has it got better or has it got worse? More people being killed at the present moment than has ever happened on earth before. More disease than has ever been on the earth before. Sure, there were waves of particular disease, but we have so many they're discovering every day that just keep coming because our thoughts keep coming and we keep disturbing this beautiful earth and everything in it, the psyche. So when you're the university student studying to be a doctor, to help people, which is the most admirable thing to do in existence, what about your mother and father? What about the arguments you have with them or the discontent that's between you? What about your children? What about your lover and the arguments you have? What's the good of your university career if it is worthwhile? What's the good of it while you have arguments with your lovers, while you have a broken heart, while every time that I mention your mother or your father or some lover or how you need love, that the tears come up into your eyes and the redness comes up? What's the good of your university career if that happens? Because that's the inner world. The university career is not an inner world. That emotion that comes up on you, that's the inner or intermediate world. That's the guardian of the threshold of the eternal peace, of the eternal rightness, of the instinctive world that the plants and all nature is connected with. This emotion, this terrible emotion that destroys everybody's life, that's the intermediate world that guards, is the guardian of the threshold. Stands at the threshold and says, nobody is allowed to come in to the instinctive world of peace and harmony in which everything in your life will be fulfilled. Nobody is allowed to come in here until you can face me, your own self, your own emotion, your own thought process, your own notions of love, your own notions of death, your own notions of what life's about, like the scientists. You have to face that first and stop running into your laboratory, which is into your kitchen, your new house, your mortgage, your job. That's your laboratory that you keep running into and losing yourself there, forgetting about the arguments with your children, the discontent inside of you. You run into a laboratory all the time, into your business. You must study the observer with the intelligence of the observing eyes or intelligence. You must go inside and confront this guardian that stops you from finding the peace. So your emotion is what's stopping you from being immortal, from being with the plants, from being able to die at any moment and have no problem with it, just like the plants and animals do. Then you are immortal. But that's a state which, of course, is behind you, behind your body, like now. Now, are you going to defend your emotion? Are you going to take a position when somebody speaks to you? Or are you just going to be what you are and not take a position? For the first way to get rid of your emotion is to not take a position, to just be in your place. Stop defending yourself. When you take a position, you put yourself against someone else's position. Then the defenses come out. When you don't take a position, the other person takes a position, and you absent yourself or you don't try to defend yourself. Then that passes through you, or it just passes on. And so Jesus of Nazareth is said to have said, resist not evil, something that nobody on earth ever seems to understand, except they like to quote it whenever it suits them. Resist not evil. Stop taking positions. And then your own defense of your own unhappiness will start to disappear. Right. So I think I've talked long enough for now. Everything all right? I haven't said anything. Now the beauty of this is, let it all go. It's all been absorbed by your body. Not by your mind. We don't want your mind in it at all. Thank you very much. What I have said and my truth is absorbed by your body. That is logic. Could you show me anything here but your body? Would you like to show me something else that's here? No, because you would. You'd be smart if you could. And be rational like the scientists. And put second thing first. And you'd try to show me something. A lot of bullshit. The only thing that's here is your body and my body. That's all that's here. That's logical. Now what I'm speaking to, I am speaking to your body. I am not speaking to your mind. And if you're using your mind, then you're not receiving what I'm saying. Your body is, but it might take some time for it to get through. So you see, I'm speaking to your body. Now, when you speak to the body, you don't have to think, because the body doesn't think. The body's instinctive like the plants. The body's instinctive like the koala bear. It doesn't think. You only think it does. So all the time that I've been speaking, I've been speaking to your body, which has been absorbing the truth energetically of my voice. The words, yes, but it's the energy of my voice. Every voice is different. And it starts to change as you start to enter the instinctive world, and that becomes your being. The voice starts to change. The timbre of it, the timbre of it, the vibration of it. It might not be recordable, but it happens. And the body, it penetrates deeper and deeper in a real way into the body of those who listen. So that's what I've been speaking to. And I've been speaking like this deliberately, because you come in your mind. You come out of your body and you walk in with a good deal of a halo of thinking around you. And I speak to you to get that back into your body so that you stop thinking, stop worrying, stop being bothered about anything. Sink into the logic of your body. Right. And so now we will go into what I call me. Me, as you know, those who've been with me before, is the intelligence, the well-being inside the body. In other words, the instinctive world, where there is nothing, but it's inside your body. So we're going to go into there, because you've been prepared for this now. You'll be able to sink very, very quickly into a place of silence and stillness. So let us do that. Close the eyes, and using the intelligence, which is all you've got, not thinking, just be conscious of the stillness and silence that is inside the body. I'll call it my body, which is your body. It's so still and silent in here. It starts off like a feeling of stillness and silence. But the more I give up the feeling, it becomes just what I call a pure sensation of well-being, because everybody has well-being in it. It is fundamental to everybody. And so there's a sensation of stillness, well-being, a rightness. Now this is goodness. I love this. Ah, what a relief it is to be able to sink into a place that's inside of me that I have to call me, because it is me. Now don't think about anything. There's nothing to think about in here. It's me. So intimately me that there's not even room to think about it. And it's good. And it's right. And I know it's right without thinking. And I know it's good without thinking. Because it's me. This is the peace that's always inside me, underneath the hustle and bustle of the thoughtful mind and emotions that stop me from getting into this place so easily. Ah, what a relief it is. Now don't think. Your thought process will do nothing but make you unhappy at being unable to do this. Just relax. This is the place of the instinctive, energetic world. It's inside the animal body. This is the nothingness, which is the beneficence, the that all the plants and all the animals are attached to intrinsically. It's a place of simplicity. But you cannot know it, meaning you can't think about it. You just have to be it. And then there's no need to think about it. Now remaining in this place within, this is a place, not a position, it's a place, and it's a state. It has no boundaries, no description, it's just a place. Being in this place intelligently, this place called me. Open the eyes and demonstrate that you can be in the external world of forms and still be in this place inside my physical body. It's very important to be able to make that between looking at the other world or approaching the other world or being in the other world of nothing, of peace. Being at the same time able to be here, which is the source of all restlessness, all unhappiness, all thought, all movement is out here. To be able to stay in that place in there at the same time as being here. The more you practice that, the more you're able to keep that integrity within, in the midst of this storm out here, this sound and fury that's always going on out here. It's very important to do that. Now, would any of the people with me for the first time like to ask me a question where I might not have made myself clear enough for you? Please don't be hesitant. I will not criticize you in any way. There's no criticism here. We're all endeavoring to find the same place. Anything I can help you with. Any lingering, thoughtful doubt about something, because this is the time to ask me. All right? Anyone else have something to ask me that I can help you with? Good. Yes, Lachlan? You talked a lot about dying for love for woman. Yes, Lachlan?
Dying for love, women have to die for love. Is it the same for man? Do men have to wait for love? Do they have to die for love in the same way that women? Is it different?
Does man and woman both have to die for love, or is it different for both of them? Well, if it's different for both of them, it means the same thing. You have to die for love. You have to, if you're a man, you have to keep giving to woman. You have to keep giving. You have to learn how to love. You have to learn how to touch her, learn how to kiss her, learn how to embrace her. You have to give up the thing that can't be bothered, which is your emotions, the guardian. You have to give. You've got to go the extra mile with her before you quit. You've got to keep, and yet you've got to have the authority to be able to ask her what she's emotional about, to be able to ask that. But you don't quit. You keep loving. You keep giving. And watch her go through it as she takes responsibility for her emotion, which she will if she's a woman, a real woman. And it gets worse, less and less, because you're giving. You're giving the opportunity for it to happen, for her to find a greater truth of her love. And she has to do the same to man. But she has to be very careful because, as you know, man has manipulated her, and she will do anything for man. That's her nature. She'll believe anything from him. And because she is so currently in our world, so desperately self-doubting and so desperate for love, that she will be inclined to take the compromise of a nice man and sex. And she has to die for love in that way and say, no, I won't. I will not give in to sex. That's where I come from, and I will not give in to my emotions. Meaning, if I'm emotional, I will stop projecting myself, my emotions onto others. I will stop asking questions from my emotional place, because every time you ask a question from your emotional place, you feed the emotion. It's the emotion that asks the question. So she's got to stop asking questions from the emotion. She's got to go, stop, contain it. And then she's not to get unhappy because she's containing all this emotion, to let it all well up in her, because every moment she knows what she's doing. Do you want to find love, woman, or do you want to find a compromise? Now, either I tell you the way to do it, or it's not the way to do it. If you listen to me, then do it. You know what you're doing. Your emotion destroys your life, destroys your love life, destroys everything. Your emotion, your need to project, your need to demand, your need to want to change things, you need to want to make things better. All that's your emotion. You have to give that up. Knowing what you're doing, for that stops suppression. If you suppress this stuff, it means you don't know what you're doing. You're following some rule, like the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments have caused enormous frustration and wars on this earth, because it's impossible, because they represent suppression. Thou shalt not kill. Immediately that is suppression, because you might have to kill. Thou shalt not steal, and everybody's stealing in some way or other. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Who says? What's adultery? Violation of the marriage bed was a nice way they used to put it in the dictionary. What's that mean? Violation of the marriage bed. Does that mean getting an axe and chopping up the marriage bed? What's all this bullshit? All religious bullshit. Adultery is to adulterate love. That's what adultery is. To adulterate it. To corrupt it. To make it what it's not. And the love between man and woman is only adulterated by sex and emotion. Otherwise, it's divine. Surely. Who invented marriage anyway? Where did it come from? Come from priests who like to perform little ceremonies. Love is marriage. Love is marriage. A state of love. Like when I went through a realization up in Almora in the Himalayas, a very meaningful one for me, where I've always loved woman, you see, and then she revealed herself to me to be God. And that was quite a massive thing for me to see. And then this thing happened inside of me, and it was said, this formless woman, will you love her, cherish her, and keeping yourself only unto her, as long as you live? Will you? And you'll notice that it comes from my conditioning of the marriage ceremony, but there I was, marrying a formless woman forever, keeping myself wholly unto her, unto death or beyond. And I am always married to that woman. And she is formless, as the love of man is a formless man. In other words, it's what you would call a divine principle. So I am already married, well and truly married to that principle. And so I love where I love. The same principle. It is the mind that divides people up into individuals. But as long as I love, wherever by my lights I am led, I might be with the one woman all my life. Then, if that's how it is according to your lights, according to your karma, according to what it must be. But love her. Love her. She's the divine woman. And love him. He's the divine man. But you have to give. You can't expect to get. Every time you expect to get from your man or woman, you're selfish. If you give and keep giving rightly, then it just follows, it comes back to you. But you must never aim to get. You must always aim to give, to love. For getting is not giving. And it is so that our human minds always do everything to get. You know, people, if I declare myself to be guru as I am and do, if I were to declare that to a wider public on the television, they'd wonder what I was after, who was money I was after. I'd always be thought of as trying to get something, because the human nature is always lives off getting. All the newspaper reporters are out to get a story, not to present the truth, but to get a story, to get an angle, to get a handle on it, to get famous, to get a byline, always to get. And you can't do that if you're going to serve anything. You've got to give. And we know that in the external world, which is a selfish world, the whole world is run on the basis of getting. But we can bring into it, especially where love is concerned, we can bring into it the giving, which will demonstrate itself to work and therefore make our external life less and less necessary to have to get. To have to get the best part of the deal instead of just get the deal. It'll come through like that as well. So yes, service, Lachlan. Service and giving. Yes, anybody else have a question? Yes, your name please?
Jeff.
Yes, Jeff.
From time to time when working, there must be a need for intelligence to find out a solution to projects you're working on. Does that involve thinking?
No, from time to time while working, there must be a need for intelligence to find out solutions to problems that you're working on. Is that thinking? No. If you're intelligent, as you said, working on a solution to find a solution, you're looking. You're not thinking at all. First, you look inside your own experience. Now, a child is more inclined to look into its imagination of what it's read about or thought about. That's thinking. A child will look into its thought process, thinking, because it hasn't entered its body enough yet. So it'll look into what it can remember, what it's heard. That would be no good to you in your business, would it? In what you're talking about. So you don't want a thinking person, because they'd be daydreaming. They'd be thinking about their fears or doubts, or they'd be thinking about what somebody else did, instead of looking into their own experience and saying, now I've got this problem here. And you look inside of you and say, what in my experience, not my memory, my experience, which is the living in my body, what have I got? And you just go still, and the intelligence throws up solutions. But if it starts throwing up worry about, oh, if I do that, I'll lose all I've got. Oh, what will my wife say about this? Or what will happen to the children? If you do that, you're thinking. But if you're going to be intelligently a businessman, then you look. Then you look at the resources you've got outside of you to see what will solve this. That's looking. Is that true? Because if you ever get a thinker on your staff, you're in dead trouble. A looker who can come up with solutions as possibilities, that's different. You look, you go still, and you get an idea. You know how ideas come? You haven't got a thought in your mind, you don't know how to do something. Suddenly you've got the idea. I must try that. That looks as though it might work. And how do you find out if something works? You take it into the physical. You do it practically, don't you? You do as much as you can on the computer. You do all you can on the computer. But then you get to the final bit where you have to find out if it's true in the physical reality. That's so. Then you take your chances. Now you might have made a mistake because there's no such thing as perfection. But you've done all you can. You consulted all the people, not by thinking, but by asking. And you say, well, let's go with this. Now, nobody knows whether that's going to succeed or fail. That's life. If it fails, right. Let's take remedial action. Let's do the best we can. But let's not say, we've failed. Because nobody knew you were going to succeed anyway. You only thought you were. Then there's no thought process attached to it. No worry. No fear. No doubt. You wouldn't have done it in the first place if you didn't think it was the best thing to do. But what people do is they do what they think is the best thing to do in the moment. It doesn't work. And then the thinker comes and says, I shouldn't have done it. Oh my God, why did you do it in the first place then? Are you mad? How dare you say you shouldn't have done it? Were you unconscious then? So you must be unconscious now. How can I believe you? I don't know whether you're conscious or mad, because you don't know what you're doing with your life. When you do something, do it and pay the consequences if you have to, and do the best to remedy the situation. But be prepared to fail. Otherwise, you're not being true. So is that all right about thinking? Right. And if you worry about your own emotions or your own emotional self, or the mother and the children, or what they'll think or anything, you're thinking. That's what keeps you awake at night. You will not stay awake at night in a business matter. You might be awake because a crisis in a business matter, or a crisis of any kind, sets up a vibration in you. A crisis. It's in the body. The psyche inside vibrates more intensively than normal. But it doesn't mean you've got to think about it. You can lie awake there all night, if that's necessary, but you must not think. You can look to see if anything's changed. Have I looked at all the resources that I have? Yes, I did that all day, and I've done that, and I've taken all the actions. Can I do anything else that I can see? Looking inside. Looking into the world and inside. No, I can't see anything that I can do. I've just got to wait and see the outcome. Right. Boom. So the vibration goes on in the self, undoubtedly. But you do not allow your mind to think about yourself and your problem. Because if you think about your problem, it solves nothing. You should have looked at the problem and taken the action. Isn't that right? Right. But because scientists think, and because the whole world has taught you that thinking is the same as looking, our children are confused. We were children. We're confused. Our parents were confused. Everyone, the whole world's confused. See, it starts here now. You've got to know the difference. Practical action. The mind is useless except to put things together, to connect things up, but not to connect things up emotionally, because that will then tyrannize you. You must not let the mind work on any of your emotions. The only way to deal with your emotions is to be still and to take action to get rid of the source of the problem. Give up your fear, because the only reason you won't take action is because you're afraid to. You're afraid of what people will think. You're afraid of what people will say. Your fear is a guardian which stops you from being at peace. Yes. Yes. Anyone else have a question they'd like to ask me? It's all right. You don't have to remember a thing. It's all going into your body. It's all going into your life. You see, your body is your life. You have no life outside your body. I am speaking to your body, therefore I'm speaking to your life. Doesn't matter how much you think, you have no life outside your body. And I am speaking to your body, to your life. And your body and your life are intelligent. So you don't have to think about it. When it is necessary, what the information that's gone into you will come up at the right time and be demonstrated in the external world or be demonstrated by some sort of realization inside of you. You'll know something. Right. Not think you'll know. You'll know. So I'm speaking to your life. Does somebody want to tell me you've got a life outside your body? Is somebody going to be stupid enough to tell me that? Now I want you to look at this. I want you to look at this very, 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 very seriously. Because this is the error. You think you've got a life outside your body. No, your body is your life. Because when your body's dead, you've got no life. Only when your body's there have you got a life outside of you. When you're asleep, you don't have a life outside of you because you've withdrawn your intelligence from your body, so your body doesn't exist. Your body is your life. Where your body is the only truth. Where your mind tries to put you is rubbish. You want to think about Mars? Rubbish. You're a scientist again, speculating, being rational instead of logical. You can't eat without your body. You can't love without your body. You can't smell a rose without your body. You can't do anything without your body except mess up your life with your thinking process and your emotions. And your emotions are not a part of your body. Your emotions and your thoughts are an intermediate buffer that you've put in there. You survey your world through your senses and you keep stuffing stuff into the body. Stuff. Mummy mistreated me. Emotional. That emotion. You stuff some emotion into your beautiful, innocent little body. Then somebody stole my toy. Right. Emotion. Stuff that into my body. So I end up with another body inside this beautiful body, stuffed up with emotion and hurts and pains and fears and doubts that it might happen again. And that's where we all live from in this world. We don't live from our bodies anymore. And so we say, I've lost the life. Where's the life I used to have as a teenager, as a child? Well, you've stuffed your emotions over it. You've stuffed your fears and your doubts and the pains of the past over your simple body. You can't feel anymore. And then when you make love, you've stuffed sex and hurts and pains over for so many years that when you make love, you can't feel it. You can't be bothered. You don't want to, or you can't feel it, or it's a pain because you're making love with your emotions. And emotions never made love in their life and never can. Because it's a false body in there. And it cuts you off from me, that wonderful thing inside there, which is peace and silence deep inside the physical body. Where, as you remember, the physical body is vertical. As you go into the physical body with intelligence, like we've been doing, like we're doing now, you go deeper and deeper. And there is a place where you could actually leave the physical body behind, and it wouldn't make the slightest difference to the peace inside of me. Not the slightest. And that's what happens when my body dies. It doesn't make any difference whatever. The only thing is, it's so far better to be dead than to be alive. So it's quite a relief to be dead. But you've got to discover that for yourself. Meanwhile, you are attached, you and I are attached to the body, we are in the body, and that's where our body is our life. For now. When we have no body, Our life is something else inside of me. So, but there is a place in death, you see, you just go down here and then you have no body. And everybody on earth is afraid of death. No matter how much they say they're not afraid of death, unless you have faced death while you are alive, the death of yourself, you will always be afraid to die. And that is why you die for love. If you die for love, you die to yourself, which wants to hold on, to cling, to take a position. You have to keep dying to that. And when you've died to yourself enough, you're dead while you're alive. And then the secrets of the universe, the secrets of love, of life and God and truth, are immediately available to you according to your need. Like they are available to me as I speak to you. Everything that I need to know in answer to every question, everything is available immediately and instantaneously without any thought or reference to anything inside of me. Because I am already dead. I am in that place. So are you. So are you. It's only the delusion of the thinker, the wanter, the trier, the imagination. It's only that delusion which keeps you from the truth. That's all. But while I'm talking to you from this place of death, you start to enter the place of death too, where there's nothing, and yet it's all right. There's no big deal. And that's why I ask you, when you go into that place, by going into me and then opening your eyes, I want you to realize there's no difference between being dead and being alive. No essential difference. It's all in the fear of holding on. That's what makes the problem. Like the plants don't hold on. Psychologically. So you've got to give up holding on psychologically. It's all right. Nothing will change, nothing will be taken from you necessarily. No. You just got to give up the psychological habit of hanging on. That's all. Yes, sir. It's Tom. Bastian, yes, Bastian.
In the process of studying something at university, isn't there thinking involved all the time?
The process of studying something like at a university, isn't there thinking all the time? Yes, okay, so I better deal with that. Now, there is nothing wrong with studying a university course, studying whatever it is, any art or anything that you want to study. There is nothing wrong with that. I am not saying that. I'm just saying that you put first things first, and while you do that, you study the observer first. And at the same time, then you can do your other study, and you will find that you can do both, because one is not related to the other. If you're going to do a university study, Bastian's question is, isn't there thinking in that? Well, I would get that down to a minimum. If I were studying something, I would get that to a minimum, because I would understand what I'm doing. What would be a subject at the university that I'd be studying, for instance? What, Bastian mentioned one? Electronics, right. Electronics is obviously associated from the beginning with the word electron. That's where it comes from. So I would have to study the composition or the structure or the behaviour of electrons. First of all, I would have to grasp that to be able to study electronics, wouldn't I? So if I did that, started the first thing first, which would be logical, because electronics are logical, electrons. If I started there, I wouldn't be thinking. I'd be looking up every reference book that I could to study now what is an electron, what is it, how does it work, what's its structure. Yes, okay, and that would lead me, because I'm being instructed, onto other things, Electronics, I don't know what they do, but okay, they fire everything, don't they? Computers and everything, but what branch it takes, I would then look and study that, and I would be very, very moved by that. I wouldn't be studying it if I weren't interested in it. For my God, what's the good of studying anything you're not interested in? Then you'll be thinking of how quickly I can get through this, and that's thinking. And if you're thinking about you're going for an examination and you're thinking about, oh, I might fail, well, that's thinking. Because thinking is always emotional, get to emotional, whereas looking is not, and study is not. If I'm studying a subject, then, yes, I want to know what there's that, then that comes out of that, and that comes out of that, that comes out of that. Where's that reference book? Yes, I've got to put this together. I can't get the connection between that and that. I can't see it, you see. I haven't thought, right, I'm going to ring up the teacher. I don't care if he is his day off. I'm going to reach him. He's not a bad guy. So-and-so, could you make the connection here? I can't do it, please. I'm not thinking. I'm asking. And he responds and says, well, so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. You say, right, got it, thanks. So would you show me in your experience, Bastian, an example of thinking, because I might be making it too simplistic in that situation.
For example, a mathematical problem is put in front of you and you have to solve it.
A mathematical problem is put in front of you and you have to solve it. Well, I'm rotten at mathematics, right? But if a problem's put inside of me, then what I do is get on, I've seen them on the blackboard, a plus b plus 2a plus b equals so-and-so. And as I do that, I see from my own understanding of what I've been taught in my previous study, I see that that's correct, yes. A plus times b plus 2ab plus b squared, yes, that's right. Now, yes, now there's a problem, I haven't got that. I'm looking at the blackboard, but really I'm looking inside. When the scientist is looking at the blackboard, he's not really looking at the blackboard. He's like that plant. He's looking inside, into the stillness of his own being inside. And he's waiting for the idea to come up. And he gets an approximation, so he tries it this way. And the only way to test anything is to put it into practice. So he tries it that way. And then he stands back silently. And he looks. He doesn't think. Because the thing comes up in you, you see. It comes up vertically. Thinking is going from this way to that way. If he starts to think, he'd be one of those guys that write a book about it, probably a bestseller, but doesn't ever contribute anything really. But if he goes vertically, he just waits and something comes up in him. Well, that's how I work. You know, I'm just waiting every moment here. I'm not thinking. And up it comes in the stillness.
You have to go into your memory a lot.
You have to go into your memory a lot. I understand that. So I don't find any problem with going into my memory, because often I have to go into my memory. Where did I leave my glasses? Or what the telephone number is? Or what did I do with that paper? Or where am I on the computer? Before I get to the computer to find out. Yeah, I understand there's no problem going into your memory as long as you don't dwell in your memory to get facts. You go into your memory to get facts. But you don't go into your memory to get impressions. Does she love me? I wonder whether she loves me. Oh, isn't she beautiful? Thinking about her. That's going into the emotional memory. And as soon as you do that, you're out of your factual memory. So we've all got inside of us an emotional memory and a factual memory. An impression memory and a factual memory. We've got all sorts of impressions about people, how they're thinking, what they feel, what they like, what they don't like. Not necessarily the truth. If we go by that impression, we get the wrong information. It's coloured. So nothing wrong in a study. You've got to go, because all, universities are places of learning, and no one ever learnt the truth yet. So nobody who ever goes to university is ever going to learn the truth. Ipso facto, that's the way it is. Because universities are places of learning. And so's the schools, places of learning. And a place of learning requires use of the memory. But what we do is use our emotional memory with fear. We're afraid we don't really love the subject we're studying, for instance, which means we won't really get to the basis of it. We won't really understand the subject. We'll try and wing our way through it at the exams and things instead of understanding what we're doing. And that's very risky, so therefore you get afraid of exams, like I used to be. I used to fail just about every exam. And I was terrified of them because I didn't know what I was doing. And that wasn't because of any fault of the teachers. That was purely because I liked to play more than study. You know, that's how it was. And if you play rather than listen when you're studying, you're going to miss something. A block's going to be missing from the wall. And when you try to get the whole wall together, you can't because there's a part of it missing, an essential part. And then you're in trouble. But I don't think children are taught how to study. I think one of the ways, well, you can't reverse anything, but because children are not informed about the truth of the universe from the moment they are born, they're going to make all the wrong selections. They're going to choose to go for money instead of going for life. They're going to choose to go for success and be encouraged by their parents to go for success rather than for life. So right from the start, they don't know the secret of the universe. My little son, you are going to die. You're going to disappear just as you appeared. And it's not going to take long. We've only got a few years here. So you might as well know that. You're going to die. But it's all right. You don't die any more than you were born, because before you were born, it didn't take to be born for you to be. So you're only being born is only part of the process, and when you die, you're still being. But in this process here, you've got to inform the child of the truth of life. And then gradually they will study something that's worthwhile. See, the whole thing's back to front. And by the time you're not even taught how to make love, imagine the errors that you make in the early life. Nobody can teach you how to make love because you all know, you think you know how to make love. That's the end of it. And of course, because you think you know how to make love, in the early days, you mess up love. And you mess up it inside of you and you mess it up in other people. And then eventually you discover I don't know how to make love. Because it only makes me unhappy. Because making love makes everybody unhappy. Making love or not making love makes every single person on earth unhappy. Because we don't know what we're doing. We haven't studied the subject under the master. We don't know what the purpose of love is until you people who come in, like I did, well down, 30 years after a life of ignorance, suddenly the truth is revealed inside of me, while you people have been going a lot longer probably than I was. And so you have been studying what is this, the purpose of love. And when Lockie says, well, what is the purpose? I say to give. For giving is loving. So, anybody else have a final question before we break? Come on. Yes, it's
On the subject of love, did you say more on
impersonal love. Yes, impersonal love is not to hold on to any lover, is not to be jealous of anyone, and not to be competitive with anyone. Personal love is to be jealous, to be resentful, to think you're missing out. This is all personal love. And to be unhappy, because that all persons are unhappy about love. So you see, impersonal love gets rid of all those. But you have to really love to love the person out of you. Because when Lachlan says, well, how do I love? And I say, by giving. When you give, you go against the person who's selfish and wants to hold on. So to love is to die to your own person, to your own desire to hold on and be resentful or be jealous or compare yourself with somebody else. That's not love. But if you will only love from your own lights and from your own body, that's all you can do. And if somebody doesn't want to be with you, and that's how it is. You can do your best to persuade them otherwise, but you've just got to let them go. See, so that's getting rid of the person that always wants to hold on, that always wants its way. And then when you do that, when you're true to love, love will be true to you. So we will have plenty of opportunity this weekend to demonstrate personal love and impersonal love. See, what I'm talking to you now, this is impersonal love, for I love you. And your parents or someone might say, well, what sort of love's that? All he's doing is talking to you. But this is love, because I'm talking about love, truth, life, death and God, which nobody out there talks about for long, including your parents. But I have the love to talk about those things, and you have the love that knows they're important. That's love, to be able to listen. That's love. Whereas anybody else, their self, would say, well, what's going on here? I don't want to hear about this. It's such a lovely day, I want to be out in the lovely day. But you don't want to be in the lovely day because this is a lovely day within. It's much more beautiful to be led into the place where the sun's always shining, literally, to be in a stillness of love and to hear the truth, which you know to be the truth. That's a lovely day. Yes, Tom?
I'd just like to acknowledge the truth in the timbre of each syllable I hear you speak.
Good, thank you, Tom. That is so. And as I come towards the end, the close of my life, this by grace will continue to become more and more real. Because as a man or woman comes towards the end of their life, there's a certain, the whole process of the life of getting older and getting wiser, we trust, and living the life of love, is to let go of the drives and the selfishness that holds this matter together in the normal drives. And so there becomes a greater concentration, let's just say, of the essence of the being in the body. Whereas the essence of the being was hidden under the need to drive in, to do, to perform and do things, which are all right because we've all got to do things here. But so that will become more and more evident. And who knows, in the future I might just have to sit in front of you if I can, and you just be with me. When I might not be able to speak, we do not know. But that won't make any difference, because the emanation between us, that will be going on in the place where the plants are connected with the instinctive life within, which of course is within you. And that's what's called presence and being. And that's why you can sit with someone that you love without saying anything, because there's this instinctive world of love behind the appearance of things. Like now. Well, is it time for the break now?